Angel's Katrina story, take 2. So I initially recorded my Katrina story, and somehow, some way, with me posting my teaser, my auntie knew that I surface level touched my experience. So she wrote me and said, be what you want other people to be when you interview them, which is vulnerable, comfortable, and able to open up on uncomfortable topics. So I decided that I was going to do a take 2 and really open up. Whew. Like I said, I have never really shared my Katrina experience, never talked to my brother about his up until today. So yeah, here is my Katrina experience. So when Hurricane Katrina hit, I was 11, I may have been 12, 11 or 12. And at the time, I was living with my dad. So my parents are divorced, backstory, my parents are divorced, and each year we would go between my mom and my dad. So this year, this particular year, we were with my dad. And I was in the 6th grade, and I was going to Riverdale Middle School. And at the time, we were living on the West Bank. We had just gotten a house on the West Bank. It was cool. You know, it was me, my dad, my brother. Yeah. So, personally, for me, we went from bad to worse. Up until it was time for us to leave, my experience at that home, I liked it, but experience that I remember like vividly is us not having lights. The power was out. You know, I'm not sure what my dad was doing at the time as far as work wise, but I just vividly remember us not having lights, and him saying, you know, make sure that y'all do your homework and take your baths before the sun goes down, because the lights out, the power out. I also remember we always ate like breakfast a lot. We always ate breakfast food a lot, which was fine. I still love breakfast to this day. Fun times were us racing. Me, my brother, and my dad racing down the street. We would ride bikes. You know, we definitely had good times, as well as, you know, hard times. But I'll never forget the day. It might have been like a couple days before we had to evacuate for Katrina. We had just made groceries. That's one reason why I was so mad. I really didn't want us to evacuate, because we literally had just made so many groceries. You know, usually we weren't used to a lot of groceries. You know, we'll get stuff here and there. But this particular time, we like the freezer was full, the refrigerator was full. You know, I was just so excited because, you know, it was full. And I don't know why I thought we were going to the Superdome, but my dad said that wasn't the case. But we ended up going to Alexandria, and I say my experience went from bad to worse because it just wasn't, the living conditions wasn't what I was used to. But before we evacuated, a couple memories that I really vividly remember is my dad always would instill like mindset principles into me and my brother. Like, we would go on our way to school, he'll be like, he'll ask us, what is an asset, what is a liability, be a leader, you know, just different things like that. And I'll never forget, he brought us the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, the kids edition, and you know, we had to read that, and he made us draw like a diagram or something. I think it was like a 4-quadrant diagram. I can't remember what it is I drew in it, but I vividly remember writing dollar signs, like money. I wanted money. And yeah, he always just poured that into us. He always told us our reality is abundance. Our reality is abundance. So fast forward, we had ended up evacuating, going to Alexandria, Louisiana, by my grandmother, which is his mom. My auntie, her son, he was young. If I was 11 or 12, he was probably 6 or 7, if I'm not mistaken. But it was just a lot. It was a lot. And I say things went from bad to worse because, like I said, food, it just seemed like money was always an issue, you know, low on food, lights being turned off, things like that. But we went to my grandmother's house and it was horrible. I don't remember, sadly, my grandmother in her right mind, you know, because she had Alzheimer's. So I only remember her having Alzheimer's, you know. So basically her mind was in a child state, you know. I just remember like the rats. You would hear the rats on top of the house all day, in the ceiling, you know, inside the ceiling. You would hear the rats, and you would see the rats, and my brother stepped on the rat, and it was tough, you know. Like I said, my grandmother was sick. I was 12, and I remember I was sleeping in the bed with her, and I remember vividly one time being told to go give your grandma a bath, go clean your grandma. I'm 12, 11 years old, you know. I'll never forget that. You know, it's just, that's tough, you know, an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old giving your grandmother a bath, you know, that's ill. And just not really, I don't really remember. I know my auntie used to cook a lot. I do remember having good, you know, hot meals and stuff, but it was just not what I was used to. And it made me, and then I remember vividly one time we were inside, I don't know if it was inside or outside, but then the power went out. And it just made me realize, like, damn, we all in poverty. Like, I didn't know the word poverty at the time, but I just felt like poor. We're all just so poor. You know, why do the lights have to keep going out? You know, we just evacuated from New Orleans and we didn't have lights sometimes, and then we come here to a whole new environment and now the lights out again, and it's just like, damn, like what's going on? And then I vividly remember saying the lights went out because Auntie Alice ain't paid the bill, and I'm 11 or 12, you know. And that's when my realization that we're poor really kicked in for me. Then I ended up going to school, and I really felt like I went to school so fast after evacuating. Went to school and felt odd. I don't remember me and my brother going to the same school. I didn't have a uniform, quite naturally. So I'm in regular clothes. I'll never forget what I had on. I had on an orange and pink. I had an orange and yellow stripe, like white beater type shirt, khaki pants, some orange and yellow sponge like flip-flops, and I was headed to lunch, and you know, in line, because it's like I was in like 6th grade, and a teacher said, well, who is this? Why she don't have a uniform on? You know, kind of putting a lot of attention on me when I'm already by myself, alone, you know, not knowing anybody, just being stuck in this school as a refugee, as a New Orleans girl. And honestly, I probably was the only person from New Orleans that went to that school. It may have been another person, but I don't remember. I just remember being, you know, the only New Orleans person there. And I hated the school. It was so ghetto. I told my daddy, they literally are bragging about how many F's they got and things like that. You know, I wasn't used to that. So I was like, Daddy, I don't like this school. I hate it, you know. And you just feel, I just felt alone. Like, you know, I'm young. But another vivid moment I remember is just like, again, the living conditions were just horrible. It was horrible. To this day, I have like anxiety about I hate bathrooms. I just don't like bathrooms. I remember the bathroom was just so nasty, and my daddy made me sit in the tub, you know, take a bath, and it was just filthy. I hated it. I really, really hate it. And I'm 11 or 12 at the time. I remember it. And it makes me think now, why should a 12 or 11-year-old be taking care of an adult? Why aren't resources in place so that caregivers can come in? Why is it that we are so poor we don't know, or we have to decide whether we're gonna put food in the refrigerator or keep the lights on, you know? And it's just like those situations just followed me from New Orleans to Alexandria, and I'm just like, dang, it's really like, is this normal? Is this, you know, are we the only ones like this? So yeah. And then fast forward, I ended up coming back to New Orleans to finish 6th grade, if I'm not mistaken. And then I ended up going back to Alexandria for 7th grade. And my daddy put me in another school. I went to Pineville, but the school was better. I really enjoyed that school. I ended up getting involved with like the homecoming court and stuff like that. But that struggle still followed. Definitely still followed. My dad ended up getting like it wasn't an apartment, it was like a double house. So we were living on one side, and even then I remember just the struggle. Like, it just was always a struggle. We always ate pancakes for dinner, you know. I remember, because I was going to Pineville, which was like further from, my daddy had to drive me, there was no bus, because it was a better school, you know. And he would have to pick me up earlier. Then he would pick me up early from school every day, like 10 or 15, probably like 15 or 20 minutes. He'll check me out just so that we can beat the buses, because his car was slow. And so we'll get checked out, leave earlier than the school buses, and the buses will still beat us. And then I remember going to the gas station and him putting like $2 or $3 worth of coins for gas. And the house that we were living in, it was a nice neighborhood, and on the other side of the street there was this like big pretty homes. I'll never forget. I either was standing outside or looking out the window, and it was a big brick, I'll never forget, big brick red house. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I wonder what they do. I wonder what they do, their parents do, for them to live in such a beautiful home. Because you just get tired of lack, tired of not having. And it seemed like that struggle just followed for years and years. And like, Katrina was my first time really feeling or understanding, remembering just not having, you know. And it's just like, dang, when does it get better? Or when does it get better? When? And why is this okay? Why is everybody okay with the bare minimum? You know? So that Katrina really opened my eyes to so much. And like I said, I know my parents, I don't know if I said this or not, but they literally did the best they had, the best they could with what they had. But those experiences really drive me to do better, to strive for more. I'm a visionary. I am a dreamer. I see things. I see my future, right? Literally sitting right here looking at the camera. I see my future. I see success. I no longer want to survive. I'm ready to live. And Katrina, for me, is when I vividly remember surviving. Just the state of survival. Everywhere we went, we're trying to survive. Everywhere we go, we're trying to survive. Everybody around us is just trying to survive. Everybody trying to rob Peter to pay Paul. Trying to keep the lights on or feed you. You know, it's just, when does it end? So I'm definitely a visionary. I am a dreamer. And that is what pushes me to keep going, to go harder, to strive, to be able to give my kids something that I never had, my family never had. You know, they're not going to start from ground zero like each generation has to. So Katrina, for me, really just showed me the state of which we were really in. And not just me, but everybody around me. Family, everybody. So, and then with me being a dreamer, with me being a visionary, sometimes I get like, I don't know if this is the right word, but what's the word? Remorse. So not survivor's. It might be survivor's remorse. And I'm like, okay, if I see my success and I make it, what about everybody else? What about them? But then I have to remember that I can only create the path, and it's up to whoever that's willing to follow. So you see me pushing hard, you see me going hard. That's why I'm sick of lack. I'm sick of not having. I'm sick of nothing being passed down from generation to generation. So Katrina really lit a fire in me at such a young age. And I thank my dad especially for feeding my mind, because honestly, my mind was never where my feet were. My mind was always so far ahead because I was always told your reality is abundance. Your reality is abundance. And I'm living in that reality of abundance. Yes. But now it's time to really enjoy the fruits of my labor. So that's why I go so hard. So this is my Katrina experience. Yeah. That's how I felt. That's what happened. And yeah, so 17 years later, here I am, 28 years old. And I tell my husband all the time, our time is coming. Our breakthrough is coming. I feel it. I see it. And it's only up. It's only up. So I hope my story encourages and motivates you to be the best version of yourself, because that's what I am striving to do each and every day. Is definitely be the best version of myself, create generational wealth, and create a path in which others can follow. So with that being said, this is my Katrina story. Second cut. If you would like to be featured on Love Talk to share your Katrina story, definitely DM me. We'll set it up. And like that, remember to believe in yourself. 17 years later.